The Intrinsic Demand for Agency and Female Empowerment. Experimental Evidence from Nigeria. I'm Ken Leonard, and this paper is co-authored with Mehrabin Bakhtiar, Marcel Fachon, Marcus Goldstein, and Sri Laxmi Papaneni.
How do married couples decide on consumption allocations for rival and non-rival goods? In a setting where women have poor outcomes and are assumed to have very low bargaining power, how do we describe decision-making? And can a large, long-term, unconditional cash transfer to women change the way that decisions are made? Does the process matter after controlling for outcomes? Is there an intrinsic value to agency? To measure and describe the elements of decision-making between husbands and wives, the experiment used the following steps. In one set of decisions, both husbands and wives were to divide 2,500 naira, about $23, between money to be spent on items for the wife and money to be spent on items for the husband. After deciding on an allocation, they were asked if they wanted to consult their spouse's decision. Then we asked them to choose an allocation to show to their spouse, communication, which could be different from their initial choice, dissimulated, or the same, honest. They revised their initial allocation, and we have discrete measures of no revision, partial accommodation, or full accommodation. Finally, they were asked whether they wanted to defer their initial allocation to their spouse, in which case their spouse's initial allocation replaces theirs. The four allocations, the initial and the revised for men and women, are equally likely to be selected for implementation. And the selected allocation is paid out as female and male tokens to be used in specially stocked experimental shops. In the example shown, which reflects the behavior of the average participant, both the husband and wife give slightly more to the wife. She chooses to consult, but he does not. When asked to communicate, the wife dissimulates, making her allocation more equitable, but the husband is honest and keeps the same allocation. The revision reflects partial accommodation for the wife, but no accommodation for the husband. Finally, the woman chooses to defer her initial allocation, and the husband does not defer. In this example, the experiment randomly chose the woman's initial decision, which is now the husband's initial allocation, since he deferred. They are given tokens of 1,300 to spend in the shop on items for women, and 1,200 to spend in the shop on items for men. These pictures represent items that were available in the three different shops. In the control group, allocations are not very biased away from women or household goods. Women consult, dissimulate, accommodate, and defer to their husbands. Men do not. Women and men are willing to be inefficient and pay high costs to over and under defer, respectively. This indicates that there is an intrinsic value to the process. We included a fully non-rival choice domain. Women and men made choices for themselves and their spouses over food and drinks to be consumed separately in the experiment. The results follow the same pattern as above. Half of the couples were drawn from the sample of households that randomly received the UCT. Half of all sessions shrouded the decision so that the decision to defer was not observable to the spouse. In the control group, women give up income to defer, even when their husband will never know that they deferred. Women and men from the unconditional cash transfer treatment change their allocation slightly, in the direction we would expect. But they are as likely to consult, dissimulate, accommodate, and defer as women and men in the untreated group, respectively, unless they are in the secret treatment. In the secret treatment, UCT women are less likely to defer. Allocations display significant social preferences. Despite the huge gender imbalance in power, men allocate a lot to their wives' consumption. Social norms create an intrinsic demand for women to avoid agency, and for men to capture it from their wives. The UCT led to only small changes in preferences over outcomes, and almost no change in preferences over process. However, the UCT seems to have awakened a demand for agency in women, but only if they are able to hide it from their spouses. Since opportunities to hide decisions exist, the transfer may have made long-term changes in power within the household, albeit smaller than expected.
Thank you very much for listening to our presentation, and stay safe, everyone.